Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Ministry of Health hopes to cut the spread of the HIV virus by at least 50% by 2015. The Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard now has an official flag to represent that arm of the Defense Force. And the Ministry of Food Production seeks to make this country sustainable and independent of foreign food markets. Thank you for joining us. The UN has announced its theme for World AIDS Day 2012, Countdown to Zero. The Ministry of Health of Trinidad and Tobago is hoping to accomplish this by cutting the spread of the virus by at least 50% by 2015. This as it launched its campaign calling for intensified testing.
Countdown to Zero is on. It's the campaign being pushed by the Ministry of Health as World AIDS Day 2012 draws closer. The goal is to achieve zero deaths, zero discrimination, and zero transmission of the HIV/AIDS virus. While the theme is one echoed throughout the globe by the United Nations, here the Ministry of Health is doing its part by providing free HIV/AIDS testing through mobile clinics visiting the various regional health authorities. Currently, 4 new cases are diagnosed every day. However, Minister of Health Dr. Fawad Khan hopes that by answering this call and intensifying national efforts, a reduction down to 2 new cases per day by 2015 will be achieved.
We are heeding this call to intensify national efforts towards a reduction of HIV incidence. The goal is to decrease the 2008 rate of infection by 2015 by 50%. In 2008, 4 new cases were diagnosed every day. By 2015, we aim to reduce that figure to less than 2 new cases per day.
According to Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Roger Samuel, making this a reality is possible if we all work together.
As we go forward, we must be clear that HIV is everybody's business. It is not just for a chosen few. It is not just for those who are living with it, but it's for every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago to realize that if we are not infected, we will be affected in some way or the other. And so to go forward, as we work together with the Ministry of Health, as we work together with all of the stakeholders, we want the media to be on board with us likewise. And as the media begins to champion this cause and be part of the initiative to save Trinidad and Tobago, then one day soon we'll be proud to say that we have all been part of this initiative to reduce significantly and get closer to zero in Trinidad and Tobago.
Health Minister Dr. Fawad Khan says targeted focus must be placed on key groups in society, such as pregnant women, in order to prevent mother-to-child transmission and address the spread of the disease.
Our national target is to observe the global standard that is required to decrease the infection rate to under 1%. Screening is offered to all expectant mothers at all public health institutions, and more than 95% of women willing to accept, they do the test. Of note, in 2010, we've had 0 babies acquiring HIV from the HIV-positive mothers. The access to antiretrovirals, free access to antiretrovirals for persons living with HIV has already greatly reduced AIDS-related deaths significantly in this country. But lowering it further remains a strong focus of our Ministry of Health.
Despite the success of previous testing drives, the HIV epidemic continues to be dominant between the ages of 20 to 49 in both sexes. This represents the main segment of the workforce of Trinidad and Tobago. From November 20th to December 3rd, caravans are expected to visit outreach sites across the country. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
The Ministry of Science and Technology, in collaboration with iGov.TT and eBusiness Roundtable, held its opening ceremony of the National ICT Business and Innovation Symposium, which took place at the Hyatt Regency Ballroom. The symposium is a forum for discussion and exchange of ideas geared to encourage the development of the ICT sector both locally and regionally.
Minister of Science and Technology, the Honourable Dr. Rupert Griffith, says The government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago has placed a great deal of significance on the development of the local information and communication technology sector, ICT. In fact, ICT forms one of the 7 identified pillars in government framework for sustainable development in the country.
This event is held with a view to facilitating the development of the local regional ICT sector through the sharing of ideas and experiences between key players in the ICT arena. In this respect, its intent is forward-looking, and therefore the theme chosen for the symposium this year, quote, "Realizing the Future from Vision to Reality," end of quote, is fitting as we intend to explore what we as a country, as a region, and indeed to promote the development and integration of ICT to the level we want in the future.
The ICT will serve as a linchpin for Trinidad and Tobago's transition from an energy-based economy to a knowledge-based, service-driven one. The minister says this as the integration of the ICT will complement and indeed bolster service-driven industry by increasing both the scope and capacity of such industries.
It is my ministry's, and by extension government's, intention that the National ICT Business and Innovation Symposium serve as a meeting of the minds for the local and regional stakeholders in the ICT sector, and that for our shared experiences, we gain not only the vision for the burgeoning ICT sectors, but also insight as to how to make our vision a reality.
Trinidad and Tobago has made significant strides with respect to the integration of ICT into the daily lives of citizens. Action has been taken to ensure that the next generation of Trinbagonians is ICT savvy by providing laptop computers to every child entering secondary school through the ECAL program.
The Ministry of Science and Technology has placed much effort into hosting the National ICT Business and Innovation Symposium. I therefore would like to take this opportunity to publicly commend the symposium's co-host, the National Information and Communication Technology Company Limited, iGovTT, and the e-Business Roundtable. As the saying goes, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. From the level of participation I see here this evening, I expect the next 2 days to be well worth our efforts.
The symposium utilizes ICT to make communication between the government ministers and agencies more efficient, and to make communication between the public and these institutions more effective. But perhaps the initiative that holds the most significant to government's goal is the development of the National Information and Communication Technology Plan 2012 to 2016, branded SMART. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
When we come back, the Air Guard gets an official flag. Stay with us. The Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard now has an official flag to represent that arm of the Defense Force. The flag was unveiled during a ceremony known as the consecration of the colors. The event was overseen by Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, His Excellency President Professor George Maxwell Richards.
General salute! Freeze! Up!
A strong sense of patriotism could be felt as members of the Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard proudly saluted the flag which will represent the troops from now on. The flag was unfurled at the Alwick Cross Air Station in Piarco as the unit celebrated the 7th anniversary of its inception. The consecration of the colors is a religious ceremony which dates back to earliest time when religion was associated with taking flags and banners into battle. The flag, or colors as it is called, is expected to remind personnel of the duty they swore before God to protect this nation.
These symbols are a clear reminder of our duty to uphold the laws of good government of our nation, which we, by oath before God, have sworn to obey. Today, following this ancient tradition, we have come together on this our 7th anniversary of existence to ask God's blessing upon these scholars. We acknowledge that these scholars symbolize our duty towards our country. We pray that they may never be unfurled except in a just and righteous cause.
This is the first time since independence, when the other arms of the Defense Force were founded, that this ceremony has taken place. The flag embodies the history, spirit, and loyalty of the unit. It is considered sacred, highly valued, carefully guarded, and treated with great respect. With the formalities of the significant occasion observed, entertainment was in the cards and came in the form of a maneuver display by one of the Air Guard helicopters. Gregory McBurney, News 4.
The revitalizing of several agriculture-based industries are set to be on the cards as the Ministry of Food Production seeks to make this country sustainable and independent of foreign food markets. Minister in the Ministry of Food Production, Jairam Simangal, gave an outline of some of the areas government has its eyes on reviving.
Plans to make this country self-sufficient in the production of rice is on the cards. It's said to be part of an overall plan to revamp several agriculture and manufacturing industries across the nation as government seeks to reduce the food import bill. Minister in the Ministry of Food Production, Jairam Simangal, says the project will kick off later this year.
We are hoping that this year we can bring some 5,000 acres of land into cultivation. This will in fact yield some 20,000 tons of paddy and some 14,000 to 15,000 tons of rice. This country, if we should bring all our rice land into production, which we are hoping to do over the next 2 years, we can in fact be self-sufficient in rice.
The minister was speaking at a gala retirement function at the ministry, where he noted the benefits that stood to be gained if the sugar industry were to be reopened to cane farmers.
Molasses stands at an import bill of some $300 million. There are many cane farmers who would like to get back into cane farming, and in particular, molasses industry. So we are vigorously looking at all those cane farmers, the former Caroni cane private farmers and farmers as well, who are seeking to return into that industry.
Addressing the 110 persons retiring after serving the ministry for numerous years, Minister Simangal said there was service after retirement, as their skills will be useful in the training of participants in the latest URP agriculture program.
Under the URP agriculture program, we are vigorously restructuring that program, where some of you may be engaged as well into that program. So after resting a while, you may return to assist us in the ministry under that program. We are moving it away from just training, and within the next couple of months we are going to introduce a home garden system within the realms of all those persons who are accessing food cards currently.
Meanwhile, the minister, in giving his send-off to the retirees, shared a poem urging them to find joy in their new path ahead.
Freedom will be something new. You will enjoy the brand new view. We are happy for you that you have done. Try new hobbies, have some fun. No more thought about employing. Take it easy and share your joy.
Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
When we come back, George Bovell admits that family support is a crucial component in his overall success. Stay with us. George Bovell III's second-place finish at the recent FINA Arena Short Course World Cup is made even more tremendous if one takes into consideration the fact that he was a one-man show as he competed throughout Asia and Europe. But he will be the first to admit, though, that family support is a crucial component in his overall success. News 4 Sports caught up with George Bovell II, and he gave us some indication on what it took to produce an Olympic athlete. Here's Wayne Cunningham with more.
George Bovell III returned home last Thursday with a haul of 16 medals and a second-place finish on the overall standings in the FINA Short Course World Cup. And amongst those present to welcome him was a beaming George Bovell II.
I'm very proud of him and very proud of what he's been able to accomplish for Trinidad and Tobago. He's, as he says, he was a one-man show on this FINA World Cup, and his perseverance and hard work has resulted in some tremendous times. And I think, if he can continue to get the support, he'll continue to swim and be successful.
Mr. Bovell then gave a brief history about his son's development as a swimmer.
He started swimming around 7, 8. He did a little bit of cricket, a little bit of football as a youngster. But I think by the time he was 11 or 12, he began to realize that he was going to be a swimmer. He was very, very tall. I think when he was 17, he was 6'2" or 3", and he weighed less than 150 pounds. So you could imagine what that frame looked like. So we realized at 11 to 12 that swimming was what he was good at. But he wasn't a very good swimmer at that time. I could tell you that Hayden Nualo was his coach, and I used to see him come third and fourth, and I would say to Hayden, we had to make him go faster. And Hayden said to me at that stage, he said, this boy is going to be one of the best swimmers in the world. He says, if you make him go faster now, and you make him win races just to win races, you're going to spoil his stroke, you're going to spoil his feel for the water. And I took Hayden's advice, and we let it go.
That move proved to be crucial in the emergence of George III as a competitive swimmer.
He only started to win in age group swimming in Trinidad when he was 13 or 14. And he started to do very well. And at that point in time, when he got to be 15, I realized I needed to get him out of Trinidad into a very competitive swimming environment. And I cashed in all of my insurance policies and whatever else I could get. And I raised some money and I sent him to a very elite swimming club in the US.
Following some inconsistent performances, a new coach-athlete relationship was formed as Anil Roberts entered the picture.
We went to Carifta Championships in the Bahamas. I think it must have been 1999. No, it was 2001. And Anil was there, and we were had a bet who would win the race. If it was George, if it was going to be Damien Alleyne from Barbados. And Damien beat George. And we were devastated. And I said, but this can't be. How Damien could beat George in that race? So he said to me, send him to me. I could fix that. I could get him to beat Damien the next race. He says, I've identified what is wrong, bring him to me. So as soon as May came and he finished high school up in the States, I brought him back to Trinidad. That was May. June, July, by the time we got to the end of July, August, we were in Fukuoka. He was first going into the semi-final and fourth in the 200 IM in the World Championships in Fukuoka. So I have a lot of faith in Anil as a coach. I could tell you that he is a very gifted human being when it comes to coaching swimming.
That is how an Olympic medal-winning partnership was born. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
News 4 continues after this. Local Government Minister Dr. The Honourable Suraj Ratan Rambachan says there's a lot to be learned from children if we take time to look at the world from their perspective. His comments came as he addressed student participants in the My Community Through My Eyes art and photography contest. The competition was a collaborative one between the Ministries of Local Government and Planning and Development.
Looking at our communities from the eyes of a child, we can gain insight into the actions we take as adults that shape the environment for future leaders. This is the message the Ministries of Local Government and Planning and Development are hoping to spread through the hosting of its art and photography contest titled My Community Through My Eyes, which saw the participation of students ages 5 to 18. The competition was held in recognition of World Town Planning Day. Minister of Local Government Suraj Ratan Rambachan, present at the distribution of prizes, said the displays told important stories society can take a page from.
Those who come to occupy space in the future, that we who have the power to make decisions, we who have the power to do the planning and so on, we must not ignore their thoughts and we must not ignore their vision. That is why these paintings interest me very much, and I spent about 20 to 25 minutes this morning going through and looking at each one of these paintings. And they tell important stories. There is a painting here by an 8-year-old child in which, when you look at it carefully, all you can see coming out of it is a sustainable environment. And for an 8-year child to be reflecting that through the painting, it's something I think worthy of tremendous note.
World Town Planning Day is the annual celebration of town planning, which recognizes and promotes the creation of livable communities, and was founded in 1949 by the late Professor Carlos Maria de la Paulera of the University of Buenos Aires to advance public and professional interest in planning. Minister Rambachan says an outline of how we plan and develop our towns and cities can be derived from the perspectives given by the children in their portraits.
What we do as a community and how we preserve things and what the community does and what the community upholds is what is going to have an impact upon the mind of the child. Children's minds are very impressionable minds. And for this 6-year-old to be seeing My Community Praise, it says something about the community. It tells and sends a message as to what we should be looking at to preserve in the community while we do all the other secular things. But somehow the spirituality of the community must not be lost. And that is something that we must be very aware of when we plan our town.
He adds that following rules and regulations was one step forward towards the creation of such a community.
I still believe that we have a long way to go in terms of how we treat with our environment, how we treat with planning in our communities. We have been subject to too much ad hoc planning. People are not very disciplined in terms of adherence to rules, to laws, to regulations, and because of that we are suffering, whether it be from floods, whether it be from the way we treat with garbage, collection and disposal of garbage and what have you.
Minister Rambachan hopes that by doing this, we can create greener spaces while at the same time sustainable towns and cities. Over 5 participants received awards in the art category, while 7 entrants were recognized in photography. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
That's how we wrap up the News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Thank you for joining us.